The last words my grandmother ever said to me were, "Lily, this lake house is your heart's home. Guard it like your life depends on it." And just weeks after her funeral, I was accused of forging her will to steal it all, locked out by my own family in the dead of a raging thunderstorm, with floodwaters rising around me, wondering if I'd drown before dawn. But what they didn't know was that their lies were about to unravel in ways that would change everything forever. Hi, I'm Lily Harper, and this is the story of how betrayal nearly killed me, but justice saved my soul. It's a tale of family secrets, greed that poisons the blood, and the kind of redemption that comes too late for some. If you've ever felt like the black sheep in your own flock, or wondered how far someone would go for money, stick around, because this isn't just my story. It's a wake-up call on trusting your gut, documenting everything, and fighting for what's rightfully yours. Let's dive in, starting from the calm before the storm. I was 22 years old when Grandma Evelyn passed away in the summer of 2012. She'd been the rock of our family ever since my parents died in a car accident when I was just 10. A drunk driver on a rainy highway in upstate New York, gone in an instant, leaving me orphaned and shattered. My aunt and uncle, Marlene and Robert, my dad's sister and her husband, took me in, along with their son, my cousin Derek, who was like the brother I never had. Or so I thought. We grew up together in their modest colonial house in Syracuse, but summers were magic at Grandma's lake house on Skaneateles Lake. It was this cozy A-frame cabin with creaky wooden floors, a wraparound porch overlooking the water, and a boathouse where we'd spend hours fishing or just talking about life. Grandma Evelyn wasn't rich in dollars, but that property was worth a fortune, prime waterfront real estate that had been in our family for generations. She poured her soul into it, planting wildflower gardens, fixing the dock herself even in her 70s, and hosting barbecues where the whole extended family would gather. To me, it wasn't just a house, it was memories of my parents alive, laughter echoing off the water, and Grandma's stories by the fire about resilience and family bonds. "Blood is thicker than water, Lily," she'd say, "but sometimes water runs clearer." I didn't understand that then, but oh, how I do now. Derek was 25 when Grandma died, 3 years older than me, and he'd always been the golden boy, tall, charismatic, with that easy smile that got him out of trouble. He went to community college for business, dropped out after 2 years, and started a landscaping empire that was really just him mowing lawns with the beat-up truck. But Aunt Marlene doted on him like he was the next Elon Musk. Uncle Robert, a quiet accountant who preferred spreadsheets to family drama, went along with it. Me, I was the quiet one, the bookworm who worked 2 jobs through high school to save for college. I got a scholarship to SUNY Geneseo for English literature, dreaming of becoming a writer someday. Grandma saw that spark in me. She'd slip me extra cash for books, encourage my journaling, and tell me I had my mother's gift for words. In her eyes, I was the one who truly appreciated the lake house, not as an asset, but as a sanctuary. That's why, in her will, she left it to me. Or at least, that's what the original document said. The funeral was a blur of black dresses, casseroles from neighbors, and whispered conversations about what Evelyn would have wanted. Derek pulled me aside afterward, his eyes red-rimmed but sharp. "Hey, Lil, you know Grandma loved us both, right? That lake house, it's family property. We should share it, maybe sell it and split the cash. My business could use the boost." I shrugged it off, thinking he was just grieving. "Derek, she left it to me because she knew I'd keep it in the family. We can all use it, like always." He nodded, but there was this flicker in his eyes, something cold, calculating. I should have paid attention. Psychological manipulation starts subtle, you know? Experts call it gaslighting, where someone twists reality to make you doubt yourself. Derek had been doing it for years. Small things like forgetting to pick me up from work so I'd miss shifts, or telling Aunt Marlene I was partying too much when I was studying late. But I chalked it up to sibling rivalry. Boy, was I wrong. 2 weeks after the funeral, the will was read by Grandma's lawyer, Mr. Harlan, an old family friend with a mustache like a walrus and a no-nonsense attitude. We gathered in his stuffy office in town, Aunt Marlene twisting a tissue, Uncle Robert checking his watch, Derek slouched in his chair like he owned the place, and me, nervous but excited. Mr. Harlan cleared his throat and read, "To my granddaughter, Lily Harper, I bequeath the lake house and all its contents in trust that she will preserve it as a family haven." There were smaller bequests, some cash to Aunt Marlene for all her kindness, jewelry to me, and to Derek, Grandma's vintage Ford pickup and $10,000 for his business. It wasn't nothing, but Derek's face darkened like a storm cloud. This can't be right, he muttered. Aunt Marlene patted his hand. Evelyn must have been confused at the end. Lily, you wouldn't mind sharing, would you? I felt a pang. Family first, right? But Grandma's words echoed. Guard it like your life depends on it. I think she meant what she said, I replied softly. That night, back at Aunt and Uncle's house, the tension was thicker than fog on the lake. Derek cornered me in the kitchen. You forged it, didn't you? Grandma told me last Christmas she wanted to split everything evenly. My heart skipped. What? No, Derek, that's crazy. She never said that to me. He smirked. Prove it. I laughed it off nervously, but unease settled in my gut. Little did I know, Derek's landscaping business was drowning in debt. $50,000 in loans from shady lenders, equipment repossessed, clients bailing. He needed cash fast, and the lake house was appraised at over $750,000. Selling it would solve everything, but to get it, he needed me out of the way. So he hatched a plan. Forge a new will making him the sole heir, plant evidence pointing to me as the forger, and convince Aunt Marlene and Uncle Robert I was the villain. Psychological warfare at its finest, prey on their favoritism, their blind spot for his flaws. It started with missing documents. Derek found an old draft of the will in Grandma's attic, one that conveniently left more to him. Then he showed Aunt Marlene emails from me to a shady online service for document forgery, faked, of course, using a burner account. Look, Mom, he'd say, Lily's been stressed with college debt. She probably did this to secure her future. Aunt Marlene, who always saw Derek as her perfect boy, bought it hook, line, and sinker. Uncle Robert, a quiet accountant who preferred spreadsheets to family drama, went along with it. Me, I was the quiet one, the bookworm who worked 2 jobs through high school to save for college. I got a scholarship to SUNY Geneseo for English literature, dreaming of becoming a writer someday. Grandma saw that spark in me. She'd slip me extra cash for books, encourage my journaling, and tell me I had my mother's gift for words. In her eyes, I was the one who truly appreciated the lake house, not as an asset, but as a sanctuary. That's why, in her will, she left it to me. Or at least, that's what the original document said. The funeral was a blur of black dresses, casseroles from neighbors, and whispered conversations about what Evelyn would have wanted. Derek pulled me aside afterward, his eyes red-rimmed but sharp. Hey, Lil, you know Grandma loved us both, right? That lake house, it's family property. We should share it, maybe sell it and split the cash. My business could use the boost. I shrugged it off, thinking he was just grieving. Derek, she left it to me because she knew I'd keep it in the family. We can all use it, like always. He nodded, but there was this flicker in his eyes, something cold, calculating. I should have paid attention. Psychological manipulation starts subtle, you know? Experts call it gaslighting, where someone twists reality to make you doubt yourself. Derek had been doing it for years. Small things like forgetting to pick me up from work so I'd miss shifts, or telling Aunt Marlene I was partying too much when I was studying late. But I chalked it up to sibling rivalry. Boy, was I wrong. 2 weeks after the funeral, the will was read by Grandma's lawyer, Mr. Harlan, an old family friend with a mustache like a walrus and a no-nonsense attitude. We gathered in his stuffy office in town, Aunt Marlene twisting a tissue, Uncle Robert checking his watch, Derek slouched in his chair like he owned the place, and me, nervous but excited. Mr. Harlan cleared his throat and read, To my granddaughter, Lily Harper, I bequeath the lake house and all its contents in trust that she will preserve it as a family haven. There were smaller bequests, some cash to Aunt Marlene for all her kindness, jewelry to me, and to Derek, Grandma's vintage Ford pickup and $10,000 for his business. It wasn't nothing, but Derek's face darkened like a storm cloud. This can't be right, he muttered. Aunt Marlene patted his hand. Evelyn must have been confused at the end. Lily, you wouldn't mind sharing, would you? I felt a pang. Family first, right? But Grandma's words echoed. Guard it like your life depends on it. I think she meant what she said, I replied softly. That night, back at Aunt and Uncle's house, the tension was thicker than fog on the lake. Derek cornered me in the kitchen. You forged it, didn't you? Grandma told me last Christmas she wanted to split everything evenly. My heart skipped. What? No, Derek, that's crazy. She never said that to me. He smirked. Prove it. I laughed it off nervously, but unease settled in my gut. Little did I know, Derek's landscaping business was drowning in debt, $50,000 in loans from shady lenders, equipment repossessed, clients bailing. He needed cash fast, and the lake house was appraised at over $750,000. Selling it would solve everything, but to get it, he needed me out of the way. So he hatched a plan. Forge a new will making him the sole heir, plant evidence pointing to me as the forger, and convince Aunt Marlene and Uncle Robert I was the villain. Psychological warfare at its finest, prey on their favoritism, their blind spot for his flaws. It started with missing documents. Derek found an old draft of the will in Grandma's attic, one that conveniently left more to him. Then he showed Aunt Marlene emails from me to a shady online service for document forgery, faked, of course, using a burner account. "Look, Mom," he'd say, "Lily's been stressed with college debt. She probably did this to secure her future." Aunt Marlene, who always saw Derek as her perfect boy, bought it hook, line, and sinker. Uncle Robert, a quiet accountant who preferred spreadsheets to family drama, went along with it. Me, I was the quiet one, the bookworm who worked 2 jobs through high school to save for college. I got a scholarship to SUNY Geneseo for English literature, dreaming of becoming a writer someday. Grandma saw that spark in me. She'd slip me extra cash for books, encourage my journaling, and tell me I had my mother's gift for words. In her eyes, I was the one who truly appreciated the lake house, not as an asset, but as a sanctuary. That's why, in her will, she left it to me. Or at least, that's what the original document said. The funeral was a blur of black dresses, casseroles from neighbors, and whispered conversations about what Evelyn would have wanted. Derek pulled me aside afterward, his eyes red-rimmed but sharp. "Hey, Lil, you know Grandma loved us both, right? That lake house, it's family property. We should share it. Maybe sell it and split the cash. My business could use the boost." I shrugged it off, thinking he was just grieving. "Derek, she left it to me because she knew I'd keep it in the family. We can all use it, like always." He nodded, but there was this flicker in his eyes, something cold, calculating. I should have paid attention. Psychological manipulation starts subtle, you know. Experts call it gaslighting, where someone twists reality to make you doubt yourself. Derek had been doing it for years. Small things like forgetting to pick me up from work so I'd miss shifts, or telling Aunt Marlene I was partying too much when I was studying late. But I chalked it up to sibling rivalry. Boy, was I wrong. 2 weeks after the funeral, the will was read by Grandma's lawyer, Mr. Harlan, an old family friend with a mustache like a walrus and a no-nonsense attitude. We gathered in his stuffy office in town, Aunt Marlene twisting a tissue, Uncle Robert checking his watch, Derek slouched in his chair like he owned the place, and me, nervous but excited. Mr. Harlan cleared his throat and read, "To my granddaughter Lily Harper, I bequeath the lake house and all its contents in trust that she will preserve it as a family haven." There were smaller bequests, some cash to Aunt Marlene for all her kindness, jewelry to me, and to Derek, Grandma's vintage Ford pickup and $10,000 for his business. It wasn't nothing, but Derek's face darkened like a storm cloud. "This can't be right," he muttered. Aunt Marlene patted his hand. "Evelyn must have been confused at the end. Lily, you wouldn't mind sharing, would you?" I felt a pang. Family first, right? But Grandma's words echoed, "Guard it like your life." "I think she meant what she said," I replied softly. That night, back at Aunt and Uncle's house, the tension was thicker than fog on the lake. Derek cornered me in the kitchen. "You forged it, didn't you? Grandma told me last Christmas she wanted to split everything evenly." My heart skipped. "What? No, Derek, that's crazy. She never said that to me." He smirked. "Prove it." I laughed it off nervously, but unease settled in my gut. Little did I know, Derek's landscaping business was drowning in debt. $50,000 in loans from shady lenders, equipment repossessed, clients bailing. He needed cash fast, and the lake house was appraised at over $750,000. Selling it would solve everything, but to get it, he needed me out of the way. So he hatched a plan. Forge a new will making him the sole heir, plant evidence pointing to me as the forger, and convince Aunt and Uncle I was the villain.
Psychological warfare at its finest. Prey on their favoritism, their blind spot for his flaws. It started with missing documents. Derek found an old draft of the will in Grandma's attic, one that conveniently left more to him. Then he showed Aunt Marlene emails from me to a shady online service for document forgery, faked, of course, using a burner account. Look, Mom, Lily's been stressed with college debt. She probably did this to secure her future. Aunt Marlene, who always saw Derek as her perfect boy, bought it hook, line, and sinker. Uncle Robert, conflict avoidant as ever, nodded along. We need to confront her. The confrontation came on a Friday evening in late August, just as a massive thunderstorm was rolling in from the west. Weather reports blared warnings, flash floods, high winds, power outages expected. We were at the lake house for what was supposed to be a family weekend to sort things out. I arrived after classes, backpack slung over my shoulder, thinking we'd talk civilly. Instead, I walked into an ambush. Aunt Marlene stood in the living room, arms crossed, face like thunder. Uncle Robert avoided my eyes. Derek held a stack of papers, smirking. "Lily, we know what you did," Aunt Marlene said, voice shaking with rehearsed anger. "You forged Grandma's will. Derek found the proof, your emails, the fake notary stamp you ordered. How could you betray us like this?" My world tilted. "What? Aunt Marlene, that's not true. I would never." Derek cut in. "Save it, Lil. We compared handwriting samples. The signature on the official will matches yours, not Grandma's. You're a thief trying to steal our inheritance." He waved what looked like expert analysis, faked by some online tool, but convincing enough. I tried to explain, tears stinging. "Please, let's call Mr. Harlan. He'll verify the original." But Uncle Robert shook his head. "We've already talked to him. He says there might be irregularities. Until this is sorted, you're not welcome here." My heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Aunt Marlene's eyes were cold. "Get out, Lily. We're locking up the house. You can come back when you confess and make this right." Outside, rain was already pounding the roof like gunfire. Lightning cracked the sky. The lake house was remote, 5 miles from the nearest town, no public transport, and my car? Derek had borrowed the keys earlier, claiming he needed to move it. They were in his pocket now. "Give me my keys," I demanded, voice trembling. Derek laughed. "Your keys? This is family property now. Walk if you have to." They shoved me out the door, my backpack with just my laptop, a change of clothes, and no phone charger, my battery at 20%. The deadbolt clicked behind me. I banged on the door, rain soaking me instantly. "Please, it's dangerous out here." No answer. Thunder boomed, wind whipping branches. I was 22, alone, in the middle of nowhere during what the news called the storm of the decade. Panic set in, psychological terror mixing with real fear. Hypothermia in summer rain? Possible. Flash floods? The road to town flooded every big storm. But I had no choice. I started walking, sneakers squelching in mud, lightning illuminating the dark woods. My mind raced. How could they believe him? Years of subtle sabotage flashed back. Derek accidentally deleting my college applications, spreading rumors I was unstable after my parents' death. It was classic narcissism, psychologists say, projecting their flaws onto you to deflect blame. But in that moment, I just needed to survive. After a mile, the rain turned torrential. Water rushed across the gravel road like rivers. My clothes clung, chilling me to the bone. Phone dead now, no way to call for help. 2 miles in, the dock area flooded. I detoured toward the boathouse, thinking maybe I could shelter there. It was unlocked, Grandma's old habit. I huddled inside on a pile of life jackets, shivering violently. The lake swelled, waves crashing against the structure. Wood creaked ominously. Then the dock gave way. Water surged in, sweeping me off my feet. I grabbed a beam, but the current pulled strong. "Help!" I screamed. But who would hear? Lungs burning, vision blurring. This was it, drowning in the place I loved most. But fate, or guardian angels, intervened. Headlights pierced the darkness. A boat motor roared. "Hold on!" a voice shouted. It was Officer Jake Mallory, a local Marine Patrol cop on storm duty. He'd seen the flooding from afar, checked the properties. He threw a line, hauled me aboard his patrol boat. "You're safe now," he said, wrapping me in a thermal blanket. At the hospital, doctors treated me for near drowning and hypothermia. My core temp had dropped to 95 degrees. Another hour and I'd be gone. Officer Mallory stayed, taking my statement. "Family kicked you out in this weather? That's endangerment." He was 35, ex-Navy with a no BS demeanor and kind eyes. He'd seen abuse cases before. "I'll notify authorities." Meanwhile, back at the lake house, my family thought I'd slink away ashamed. But when the nurse called Aunt Marlene as next of kin, her voice cracked. "What happened?" The nurse was blunt. "Your niece nearly drowned after being locked out in the storm. Police are involved. Child services for adults? Wait, she's 22, but abandonment laws apply?" Aunt Marlene's face, I later heard, went pale. "Derek?" He smirked at first, then panic set in when cops showed up. The investigation started that night. Officer Mallory, turns out, was no ordinary cop. He had a background in fraud detection from his Navy days. He looped in Detective Sarah Klein from the county sheriff's office, a sharp woman in her 40s who'd cracked white-collar crimes before. They started with the will. Mr. Harlan provided the original, notarized, witnessed by two neighbors. Handwriting expert? The analysis Derek presented was bogus, generated by free online software. Real forensics showed Grandma's signature was genuine. The forged version Derek found had traces of Derek's own handwriting and alterations, subtle but damning. Notary records? The fake will had a stamp from a notary who'd retired years ago. Derek had scanned and photoshopped it poorly. Digital forensics on his computer, seized with a warrant, revealed searches for how to forge a will and fake handwriting. But the real kicker, bank records. Derek's business was $75,000 in the red, with loans from high-interest lenders threatening foreclosure. Emails between him and a shady real estate flipper discussed selling the lake house once the old bat's gone and the sister's out. Psychological profile? Detective Klein said Derek fit narcissistic personality disorder, entitled, manipulative, lacking empathy. He'd groomed Aunt and Uncle for years, playing the victim while victimizing me. Aunt Marlene broke first, tearfully admitting she'd seen Derek in Grandma's study organizing papers days before the will reading. Uncle Robert, ever the accountant, found discrepancies in family accounts. Derek had siphoned $15,000 over years, forging checks in my name to frame me further. The charges piled. Forgery, fraud, endangerment, attempted insurance scam. He'd upped the house policy suspiciously. Court date set for November. I stayed with a college friend meanwhile, but Grandma's spirit kept me going. Therapy helped, processing the betrayal, the PTSD from the storm. Betrayal trauma, my counselor called it, when family shatters your trust. It's like grief, but sharper. The trial was a spectacle in our small county courthouse. I took the stand, voice steady, recounting the lockout, the flood, the fear. I almost died because they chose lies over love. Derek's lawyer tried to paint me as jealous, but evidence crushed it. Handwriting expert testified the alterations are amateur, pressure points match the defendant's samples. Aunt Marlene, called as a witness, sobbed. "I believed my son. I was blind." The judge, a stern woman named Elena Vargas, wasn't moved. Blindness is no excuse for enabling crime. "Mr. Harper, your actions endangered a life for greed. That's not family, that's felony." Derek got 3 years probation, 500 hours community service, restitution of all stolen funds and disinheritance, barred from any family assets. Aunt and uncle? Lost custody rights, though I was adult, ordered to pay my medical bills and therapy. The lake house? Mine, outright, as Grandma intended. I walked out into crisp fall air, Officer Mallory waiting. "You did good, kid." We started dating months later. He's now my husband, but that's another story. Years passed. I graduated, wrote a book on family betrayal, bestseller on Amazon. Check it out for tips on spotting red flags. The lake house, I renovated it, turned it into a writer's retreat for orphaned kids, paying forward Grandma's love. Psychological healing, it's ongoing. Forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's freeing yourself. I learned boundaries, documentation, keep every email, record conversations, and trusting instincts. Fast forward to 2025. I'm 35, married to Jake, 2 kids splashing in the lake. A letter arrives from Uncle Robert in hospice with cancer. Lily, I'm dying. Please bury me on the property. I'm sorry for everything. Aunt Marlene had passed years ago. Derek was in and out of jobs, estranged. I thought about it. Cycles of pain. Grandma's words, blood thicker, but water clearer. I allowed the burial, but didn't attend. Closure for me, not them. Standing on the porch, watching sunset over the water, I whispered, "Thanks, Grandma." Storms pass, resilience remains.
Waking up one morning thinking you're finally free of the past, only to realize the storm never really ended. It just changed direction. Hi again, it's Lily Harper, picking up right where we left off. If you're new here, go back and watch part 1 because what's coming next is the part that broke me, rebuilt me, and taught me lessons I'm still living by today. We're talking courtroom showdowns, buried secrets surfacing like bodies in that flooded lake, and the kind of closure that doesn't come wrapped in a bow. It comes with scars you learn to wear proudly. If betrayal trauma, narcissistic family dynamics, or fighting for your inheritance hits close to home, stay with me. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. This community is what keeps me telling these stories. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. Now, let's go back to that hospital room in August 2012, where I was hooked up to IVs, coughing up lake water, and wondering if I'd ever feel safe again. The nurse had just finished checking my vitals when Officer Jake Mallory walked back in with Detective Sarah Klein. They weren't wearing the soft, poor kid faces most people give you after something traumatic. They were wearing the focused, calm before the hunt look that told me things were about to move fast. Sarah pulled a chair close, flipped open a notebook, and said the words that changed everything. "Lily, what happened at that lake house wasn't just a family argument. It was felony endangerment, possible attempted fraud, and we're treating it like the crime it is. You ready to tell us every detail?" I was shaking, not from cold anymore, but from the sudden realization that someone finally believed me without needing proof first. So I told them everything. Grandma's original will, Derek's sudden discovery of a different version, the fake emails, the handwriting analysis, and how they locked me out as flood warnings blared on every radio station in central New York. Jake recorded it all on his body cam. By the time I finished, Sarah's jaw was tight. "We're getting a warrant tonight," she said. "Your aunt and uncle are about to have a very different weekend than they planned." Meanwhile, 5 miles away at the lake house, Aunt Marlene, Uncle Robert, and Derek were sitting down to what they thought was a victory dinner, steaks on the grill, wine flowing, toasting to protecting Grandma's legacy from that ungrateful girl. That's what Derek called me, I later learned from texts recovered off his phone. They genuinely believed I'd crawl to a motel, call crying, confess to forging the will, and beg to come back so they could forgive me and sell the property. Classic narcissistic control tactic. Isolate, humiliate, then offer rescue on their terms. But the universe had other plans. Around 9 p.m., as lightning still flashed over the lake, 3 sheriff's cruisers pulled up the gravel drive, lights cutting through the rain. Jake led the knock. Uncle Robert opened the door in his barbecue apron, smiling until he saw the uniforms. "Evening, sir. We have a search warrant for the premises and a court order to seize all computers, phones, and documents related to Evelyn Harper's estate." Derek tried to play cool guy, leaning in the doorway with a beer. "There's been a misunderstanding, officers. My cousin's unstable. Grief does things to people." Sarah stepped forward, rain dripping from her hat. "Mr. Harper, your cousin nearly drowned tonight after being forcibly removed from this property during a severe storm. We're here to determine who's unstable." They didn't handcuff anyone that night, but they took everything. Derek's laptop, Aunt Marlene's desktop, Uncle Robert's filing cabinet with all the estate papers, even Grandma's old typewriter from the attic that Derek had used to practice forging signatures.
By morning, I was discharged into temporary protective custody at a women's shelter in Syracuse. Jake drove me himself. "You're not going back there until this is resolved," he said quietly. "And Lily, you're stronger than they think." I didn't feel strong. I felt hollowed out, like the lake had washed away the last pieces of family I thought I had. Therapy started that week. My counselor, Dr. Patel, specialized in betrayal trauma and complex family dynamics. She explained something that blew my mind. When a parent figure consistently favors one child and scapegoats another, it's called identified patient syndrome. The scapegoat, me, gets blamed for all family dysfunction, so the real problems, Derek's debt, Aunt Marlene's denial, Uncle Robert's avoidance, never have to be faced. Hearing it named made the chaos make sense. It wasn't me. It never was. The forensic results came back faster than anyone expected. The DA's office got involved once the dollar amount surfaced. $750,000 property, potential real estate fraud, endangerment of a vulnerable adult, me, still reeling from orphan trauma. The forensic handwriting expert, a retired FBI document examiner named Clara Ruiz, testified in a preliminary hearing that the revised will Derek presented was altered using a combination of tracing and freehand imitation. The pressure patterns, she held up enlarged photos, show hesitation strokes typical of forgery, not the fluid confidence of Evelyn Harper's genuine signature, which I've compared to 20 known samples. But the digital evidence was the knockout punch. Derek's laptop had a folder cleverly named Taxes 2011 that contained screenshots of tutorials titled How to Age Paper to Look Old, Best Fonts for 1990s Typewriter, and Undetectable Will Forgery Tips. He even saved side-by-side comparisons of Grandma's real signature and his practice attempts. Arrogance is the Achilles heel of most criminals. He thought no one would ever look. Then came the email trail. Derek created a Gmail account under my name, lilyharper92@gmail.com, instead of my real lily.harper92, note the missing dot, and sent messages to a shady online notary service asking about hypothetical will changes. He used a VPN, but forgot to enable it one time, leaving an IP address traced straight to the lake house Wi-Fi. Uncle Robert's accounting records sealed it. Over 4 years, Derek had forged small checks from the family trust, $300 here, $800 there, totaling $22,000, all deposited into his business account. Uncle Robert had noticed discrepancies, but accepted Derek's excuse that Lily must have taken cash for college expenses. Projection 101. The preliminary hearing in October 2013 was packed. Small-town drama, neighbors, old family friends, even my high school English teacher showed up. I walked in wearing the one nice blazer I owned, heart hammering. Derek sat at the defense table looking smaller than I remembered, his usual charisma replaced by sweaty defiance. Aunt Marlene wouldn't meet my eyes. The prosecutor, Assistant DA Marcus Tate, laid it out like a crime thriller. Motive, crushing debt. Means, access to Grandma's papers and typewriter. Opportunity, weeks alone at the lake house, helping clean after the funeral. And intent, locking me out to force a confession or worse. When they played the 911 call from Jake the night of the storm, my choking voice in the background screaming for help as waves crashed, the courtroom went dead silent. Even Derek looked down. Judge Vargas bound the case over for trial. Derek was charged with forgery, uttering a false instrument, attempted grand larceny, reckless endangerment, and conspiracy. Aunt Marlene and Uncle Robert got obstruction and accessory after the fact for lying to investigators about the lockout. Bail was set high enough that Derek had to stay in county jail until trial. His shady lenders weren't posting bond. That winter was the hardest and best of my life. I moved into a tiny studio apartment near campus, worked weekends at a coffee shop, and threw myself into finishing my degree. Jake checked on me constantly, first as the investigating officer, then as a friend dropping off soup when I got bronchitis, then as something more. We didn't kiss until after the trial. He's old school about ethics, but those quiet evenings talking on my secondhand couch healed parts of me I didn't know were still bleeding. Therapy taught me boundaries, no contacts with Aunt Marlene's pleading voicemails, no guilt for protecting myself. Dr. Patel said, "Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, but it doesn't require access." I journaled every night, pages and pages that later became the outline for my book. The trial started in March 2013, cherry blossoms blooming outside the courthouse like nature itself was celebrating rebirth. I took the stand for 2 days. The defense tried to paint me as a greedy orphan jealous of Derek's close relationship with Grandma. They brought up my parents' death, implying I had abandonment issues that made me manipulative. It was brutal. But Marcus Tate redirected masterfully, putting Grandma's neighbors on the stand, people who testified she'd told them repeatedly, "The lake house goes to Lily. She has her mother's soul." When Clara Ruiz explained the forgery science with visuals even I could follow, the jury was riveted. The final blow was Derek's own words. Prosecutors played jailhouse calls where he bragged to a friend, "Once she's discredited, the house is mine. Lil's too soft to fight back." He didn't know calls were recorded. The jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came in May. Judge Vargas looked Derek in the eye and said, "You didn't just try to steal property, you tried to erase your cousin's place in this family for financial gain. That's a special kind of cruelty." He got 4 years in state prison with possibility of parole after 2, plus 10 years probation, full restitution, and a permanent order of protection. I never have to see him again unless I choose. Aunt Marlene and Uncle Robert got probation and community service. The judge noted their role was enabling, not masterminding. They lost the moral high ground forever. Walking out of that courthouse into spring sunlight felt like being born again at 23. Mr. Harlan officially transferred the lake house title to me alone. I stood on the porch that first night as owner, wind chimes singing, and cried the kind of tears that wash everything clean. I didn't sell. I renovated slowly. New roof, updated kitchen, kept Grandma's wildflower garden exactly as she'd planted it. I graduated summa cum laude that spring, dedicated my senior thesis to her. Jake proposed 2 years later on the dock at sunset, ring hidden in a tackle box like an old romantic. We married in 2017, small ceremony right on the lawn. 50 guests, string lights, meatloaf catered because Grandma always said chaos can wait until after the meatloaf. Fast forward to today, December 2025. I'm 35 now, watching my daughter Evie, named after Grandma, and son Theo build sandcastles on our private beach. The lake house is paid off, hosts writing retreats every summer for kids who've lost parents, teaching them storytelling heals. My book, Storm Season: Surviving Family Betrayal, hit the New York Times list last year. I speak at conferences on financial abuse and narcissistic family systems. And last month, the letter came. Uncle Robert, dying of pancreatic cancer in a hospice outside Albany, wrote in shaky handwriting, "Lily, I was wrong about everything. Please let me be buried near the lake. I need to make one thing right before I go." Jake and I talked for weeks. Forgiveness isn't reconciliation. I wrote back, "You may be buried on the edge of the property. There will be no service. This is for Grandma's memory, not for you." He passed 2 weeks ago. We honored the request, a quiet plot under a maple tree, simple stone. I didn't attend. Some cycles end without embrace. Derek died out in 2016, violated parole twice, and last I heard works odd jobs in Rochester. He's never tried to contact me, the order of protection ensures that. Aunt Marlene lives alone, sends Christmas cards I don't open. And me? I wake up every morning to lake light dancing on the ceiling, Jake making coffee, kids laughing. The storm tried to drown me, but it only taught me how to swim. If you're in your own storm right now, whether it's a toxic sibling, a parent who chose wrong, or an inheritance fight that's tearing your family apart, know this. Document everything, trust your gut, get professional help, and never let anyone make you feel small for protecting what's yours. You are not the problem. You are the survivor, and survivors build beautiful lives on the other side. Thank you for letting me share this piece of my heart. If it helped even one person feel less alone, it was worth reliving every wave. Years after the courtroom doors closed and the gavel fell, I thought the story was finally over. I thought I'd won. But sometimes the deepest wounds don't bleed until long after the storm has passed. Hi, it's Lily Harper again, and welcome to the final chapter, the one I never planned to tell, but life has a way of forcing your hand. If you've been here since part 1, thank you for holding space for this. If you're just joining, pause and go back, because what I'm about to share is the raw, unfiltered aftermath, the quiet victories, the lingering scars, the unexpected letters, and the moment I realized healing isn't a destination, it's a daily choice. This is the part where the inspiration lives, where the lessons get real, and where I hope you find something actionable for your own battles. Drop a comment if any of this resonates. Tell me your healing story, and let's keep building this community of survivors. Current date is December 29th, 2025, and I'm sitting on the same porch where they once locked me out, watching snow dust the lake like powdered sugar, ready to close this circle once and for all. Let's go back to the summer of 2017, the year everything bloomed again. Jake and I got married right here on the lawn of the lake house. 50 guests, fairy lights strung through the trees, a bluegrass band playing Grandma's favorite songs, and yes, meatloaf on the menu because some traditions are sacred. I walked down the aisle in a simple lace dress, barefoot on the grass, holding a bouquet of wildflowers I'd picked from Grandma's garden that morning. Evie was born 2 years later in 2019, a fiery little girl with Jake's dark hair and my stubborn chin. Theo arrived in 2021, all giggles and dimples, the kind of kid who hugs everyone like he's known them forever. Life felt almost too good, like the universe was overcompensating for the years it tried to drown me. I published my book in 2022, Storm Season: How I Survived Family Betrayal and Reclaimed My Legacy. It started as therapy homework. Dr. Patel told me to write the story I wished someone had told me at 22. I never expected it to hit the New York Times bestseller list or to get emails every single day from readers saying, "Your words saved me from staying silent in my own toxic family." That book funded the writing retreats I now host every summer, 10 kids at a time, all who've lost parents or been through trauma, spending a week here learning to tell their stories. We kayak at dawn, roast marshmallows at night, and write like our lives depend on it, because sometimes they do. Watching those kids find their voice is the closest thing to magic I've ever seen. Jake retired from Marine Patrol last year after 20 years, took a job training new officers, and spends the rest of his time being the kind of dad every kid deserves, building tree forts, teaching fishing, showing up. We turned the old boathouse into his workshop. The same place I nearly drowned is now where he restores vintage boats, and I write my second book. Symbolism isn't lost on me. Therapy never really ended. I still see Dr. Patel once a month, even on Zoom when the kids are sick. Betrayal trauma, she reminds me, is like complex PTSD. It lives in your nervous system. Triggers still catch me off guard. A certain smell of lake water after rain, the sound of a deadbolt clicking, or seeing a mother blindly defend her adult son on the news. But I've learned tools, grounding exercises, breath work, journaling prompts that pull me back to the present. One of my favorites is the Evidence File, a digital folder where I save screenshots of wins, book sales rankings, photos of retreat kids smiling, texts from Jake saying he's proud. When the old voices whisper, "You're not enough," I open that file and let facts drown them out. Derek's life took the path you'd expect. Paroled in 2015 after serving 2 years, he violated probation twice, first for drunk driving, then for passing bad checks. Last I heard through a mutual acquaintance, he's bouncing between low-wage jobs in Rochester, estranged from anyone who once loved him. He's never tried to reach out, and the permanent order of protection ensures he never can. Sometimes I wonder if he feels remorse, or if narcissists are incapable of true reflection. Dr. Patel says some people stay stuck because facing truth would shatter the fragile self they've built on lies. Either way, his story isn't mine to carry anymore. Aunt Marlene lived alone in the old Syracuse house until 2023, when dementia started creeping in. She sent Christmas cards every year, generic ones from the Voller store, never signed personally. I never opened them after the first. When she passed last year, a distant cousin emailed to ask if I wanted anything from the estate sale. I replied, only peace. They understood. And then there was Uncle Robert. The letter arrived in November 2025, forwarded from my publisher because I keep my address private. Cheap stationery, shaky handwriting that took a minute to recognize. He was in hospice outside Albany, pancreatic cancer, stage 4, weeks left at best. The letter was 3 pages, front and back, the kind of confession people write when they know no one's grading them anymore. He admitted everything, how he'd noticed Derek forging checks years earlier but looked away because confrontation exhausted him, how he'd convinced himself I was difficult because it was easier than admitting his son was broken, how the night of the storm he stood at the window watching me disappear into the rain and felt a flicker of doubt but buried it under denial. He wrote, I chose the comfort of believing my son over the courage of protecting you. That cowardice cost me everything, my marriage, my self-respect, and the only niece I had left. I don't ask forgiveness, Lily. I just needed you to know I finally see clearly, and what I see is a man who failed the little girl who lost her parents and needed him most. The last page was a request. If there's any mercy left in your heart, let me be buried on the far northwest corner of the property. I want to spend eternity near the place Evelyn loved, even if I don't deserve it. Jake read it first, then handed it to me without a word. We sat on the porch for hours, snow starting to fall, kids asleep inside. Part of me wanted to burn it. Part of me remembered Grandma's voice. Blood is thicker than water, but water runs clearer. I talked to Dr. Patel the next day. She asked the question that cut deepest. What choice lets you live most freely? Not what Robert deserved, what I needed. After weeks of wrestling, I wrote back one paragraph. You may be buried on the far northwest corner of the property. There will be no marker beyond a simple stone, no service, no gathering. This is not reconciliation. It is closure on my terms. Do not reply. He passed 10 days later. The funeral home handled arrangements. Jake and I drove up one cold December morning, just the two of us, and watched from the truck as they lowered a plain pine box into the frozen ground. No tears from me, no words. When it was done, I walked to the water's edge and scattered a handful of Grandma's wildflower seeds I'd saved from her garden that morning. Life on top of death, renewal over regret. We drove home in silence, then made hot chocolate with the kids and decorated the Christmas tree like nothing had happened. Because for us, nothing had. Our life kept moving forward. That night, I added a new entry to my evidence file, a photo of the lake at sunset, snow on the dock, our house lights glowing warm. Caption, this is what winning looks like. Here's what 13 years of distance taught me, the actionable stuff I wish someone had handed me at 22. First, document everything. Emails, texts, voicemails, financial statements. I keep a cloud folder labeled Truth with subfolders by year. It saved me in court and saves my sanity now. Second, no contact is a complete sentence. You don't owe explanations to people who hurt you, even if they're family. Third, therapy isn't weakness, it's maintenance. Find a trauma-informed therapist and commit like it's oxygen. Fourth, build your chosen family, the people who show up, friends who drove me to court, Jake who believed me day one, retreat kids who call me Aunt Lily. Those are my real blood now. Fifth, forgiveness is for you, not them. I forgave Robert enough to let his body rest near the lake, but I'll never forget. The difference keeps me free. And finally, turn pain into purpose. Every retreat kid who publishes their first poem, every reader who leaves a toxic situation because my book gave them courage, that's how I transformed betrayal into legacy. Grandma Evelyn used to say, storms don't come to destroy you, Lily. They come to clear the path for something better. She was right. The storm that almost killed me cleared away the toxic roots so I could plant something beautiful in their place. Today, December 29th, 2025, I'm 35 years old, watching my kids chase each other through fresh snow, Jake splitting wood for the fireplace, the lake house fuller of love than it's ever been. Derek's somewhere living the consequences of his choices, Robert's at rest under that maple, and me, I'm exactly where I was always meant to be. If you're watching this and you're still in your storm, whether it's a sibling trying to steal your inheritance, a parent who won't see the truth, or the long shadow of old betrayal, please hear me. You are not alone. You are not the problem, and you are stronger than the people hurting you can ever imagine. Document, seek help, set boundaries, build your life anyway. The water will clear eventually, and you'll see your reflection shining back, whole, resilient, and free. Thank you for walking this journey with me. This channel started because one girl needed to tell her truth, and it's grown because so many of you needed to hear you're not crazy for fighting back. If this series helped you, share it with someone who needs it. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's keep sharing stories that heal. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. The storm is over, the sun's out, and life, real, beautiful, hard-won life, is just beginning.